I grew up in the church. I watched my mother sing Amazing Grace with a black eye, and all of that. And it was all mundane. I just thought she was a strong black woman from the South that was grinding for her family. Yeah. And I always honored that. But upon being saved, upon the Lord saving me, it went from mundane to the miracle. It wasn't just she was a strong black woman who loved Jesus. No, it was a miracle of me watching her show me Jesus through her pain. It no longer was she was just a strong lady. Yeah. It was the Holy Ghost working in and through her to show me something that I would need to see long after she was dead. And to pop up in my mind and say, look how far you've brought me, God. I couldn't see it. It was mundane. But when the Holy Ghost gets you, he transforms that mundane. It's always been a miracle, but he gives you miracle-seeing eyes. And that's what Jesus does. You think it was you grinding. Yeah. Then when he saved you, you realize it was him the whole time.
Yeah. His work.
Yeah.
When you were, how old were you when she passed?
12. I had just turned 12, December 11th. She died January 1st.
Okay. So you were the formative years of those things that stick with you forever. You're able to see those things. Now, when your father came to your apartment, how old were you then? When
91. So I was almost, I was coming on 21. Yeah, he came to me. Yeah. He was
about 9 years later, he's coming to you and saying, I follow the master.
I follow the master.
And what are your thoughts in the process of seeing, you're the one responsible for the black eye. You were the one responsible for this. And then you get to a bunch of pastors who say, you need to do this. You've got to come to Christ. I'm calling you to this.
I think later my mentor told me, he's a good brother, he said, Doug, you had to suppress to survive. I think I suppressed those ideas and feelings to survive. And because I had only a dad left, I allowed my imagination to make him something that he wasn't so that I could be his friend. So I went on business with my dad like we were really cool and I liked him. And I think I convinced myself I did. It wasn't until later in life, right before I went to 10th and was under Dr. Tripp, and Dr. Mason, I was having nightmares and night terrors, seeing him beating my mother one day that I would never forget when I was 4 years old, 1974, in March. He was beating her up real bad. And that dream just kept reoccurring. And I kept waking up traumatized, crying, sweating, and I called him. And I drove up. I was living in South Jersey, so I drove to Patterson. And I uncontrollably just was crying and upset. I hugged him and loved him and left. And I didn't say anything. But when I got home, I called and I said, Pop, I need to talk to you. And he said, what's up? He always called me Dark Boy, because my sister's all light and I'm dark. So he said, Dark Boy, what's wrong with you, boy? You got something on your mind? I said, yeah, man. I think I'm growing to hate you. And I'm trying to walk with Jesus here. Just tell me why you was beating my mom, bro. I know you were drunk and drinking then, and I forgive you, but I'm having a hard time sleeping at night.
Right.
Get me there. And I never forget, he said, outside of an argument, I never touched your mom ever in my life. You have lost your mind. And I said, no, you have lost your mind. I will drive up there and I will knock your head off for lying to me. You've traumatized me, and now you're gonna try to lie as if I didn't see it. And I didn't just see it when I was 4. I saw it in 77. I saw it in 79. I saw it in 80. I saw you not even go to the hospital when she was dying for a year. What are you talking about? I will come up there, and I went off. And he said, never forget what he said. Ain't you a preacher? Aren't you required to forgive sin? Don't the master require that? Or is your church not require forgiveness? I hung up the phone because I did not want to hear that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I called my mentor, Mark Saraceno was at the time. And I said, Mark, that punk gonna act like he didn't do it. He said, what did you do? I said, I went off. He says, you are a jerk. You're the worst pastor on the earth for doing that. I was like, so you taking his side? No, I'm on the Lord's side.
Right.
And I says, well, he lied. He says, didn't you tell me your father drank too much every day? Yeah. He says, do you realize if all the harm he did over all those years, he actually realized at one moment it would probably give him a heart attack and kill him.
Yeah. The weight of it.
He'd probably have a nervous breakdown. He said, so God's grace is he's probably realizing episodically little moments. But you're going to run past God and try to kill him so you can feel better about your nightmares. And I said, I ain't hearing this from you. You need to let me be mad right now. I don't need no gospel rationale. I need you to say, yeah, let's go beat him up.
I don't need gospel rationale. That was like, well, there's your evidence that you're outside of your mind.
There's a quote for you.
Let's not ever put that in a social media post.
And I said, and I hung the phone. I was at Philadelphia University. Because their lunch was cheap. And then they thought I was a student, so they give me a discount until my beard got gray. And then I just fell to the ground and I cried for about 30 minutes. So many students walked over to me and checked on me.
Yeah.
And I went from crying to laughing and crying as I came to realize, Doug, you really don't have this whole preaching pastor thing down. This Christianity thing is so messy. I thought I was supposed to get saved, become ordained, and then I was going to be
good. Yeah.
a Yoda dude. I was going to move from young Annie, as they called him, to Anakin Walker.
Yes.
And then I
It's a
was
Star Wars reference.
And then I was going to just be a Jedi once I got ordained. And
I heard you one time say, we don't move from a Padawan to Jedi. We're always a Padawan.
The only Jedi is Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah, there was only so I that day. So I laughed because I realized, and I felt the Lord telling me, "You're only ever a child of God." The Bible never says to my adults of God. It's always to the children of God. And then right there at Philly U, I realized, yes, he's the Father that makes me forever the Son. Somebody told me, and I can't remember who, he says, Doug, you will not be a pastor in heaven. You'll only be a son. So why don't you act like a son here and suck up the grace of your sonship? And that moment I called my dad back. And I said, yes, my church requires me to forgive people. And yes, the master does too. My bad, Pop. He said, oh, I ain't worried about you. I know you crazy, but we walk with the master. He gonna figure it out. He said, now, if you ever call me like that again, I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna beat you like you stole something, boy.